Joe Walsh, welcome back to Mea Culpa, my friend. So much to talk about, so little time. Meanwhile, thank you for being here. Got to jump right into it. So, Joe, do me a favor. Help me out here. The government shut down. People can't pay their bills. And Trump's tearing down part of the East Wing to build a ballroom for his billionaire buddies. What the hell does that say about priorities of this White House?
Kind of like French Revolution stuff. Michael, it's good to be with you. Look, here's, no matter where you want to place blame on the shutdown, the fact is Senate Democrats and Senate Republicans have generally been in Washington trying to get shit done. House Democrats have been in Washington as much as they can be. There's only one fucking group of people who have not been in Washington. Michael, it's something like 78 of the last 88 days they've been out of Washington. House Republicans. So House Republicans aren't lifting a finger. Trump's not lifting a finger to open the government again. So no matter who you blame, those are the two groups that aren't doing a damn thing. Now, House Republicans still haven't sworn in that Arizona Democrat, because they're worried about the Epstein files. But all of this is delaying any movement on the government shutdown as Trump takes a fucking bulldozer to the White House.
I mean, my understanding was that they told the public that no major renovations were going to take place. And then fucking kaboom. Demolition starts anyway. I mean, you've been around politics for a while now. Is that incompetence, or would you say that that's calculated deception?
No, this is all, Michael, this is all Trump. And you and I may disagree. I'm profoundly sad. Like, I have the same feeling in my stomach watching these images of the White House being knocked down as I did on January 6th when I saw people riot and attack the other people's house. We've got two people's houses in this country. The Capitol, that's where I worked. Representatives of the people work there, and the White House, the representative of all the people. I feel the same thing, Michael, like our people's house is under attack. This is all Trump. Broken record. He doesn't have the authority to do this. There's a process you have to go through. He did no vetting, no congressional approval or vetting, no permits, no approvals by any of the committees, commissions, historical commissions, the National Park Services that manages the entire White House property. He did this all on his own, like he's done everything else on his own, because, Michael, nobody fucking stops him on anything.
No, but it's interesting. I too had the same reaction that you did.
Right?
When I saw the part of the East Wing demolished with that backhoe standing there on the side, I was saying to myself, I wonder how the souls of those individuals, the poor, the slaves, that actually built that years and years and years ago, how they must be feeling. I mean, I get it. He wants to put up this ballroom. Will I say that it's needed? No. Will I say it's not needed? It'll be, brought to good use in the future? Absolutely. Why not? Right? But here's the problem. Why does it have to be physically attached to the building at all? Why does it have to be twice the size, if not 3/4 the size of the White House itself? I think the White House is like, 30,000 square feet, give or take?
Something and this ballroom, Michael, is like 90,000. Yeah.
90,000 square feet, 3 times the size. Trump Pavilion, obviously it shall be called. That, along with, dropping his image across the side of a building, the new Arc de Trump in order to rival the Arc de Triomphe in Paris. You have the House resolution right now when Congress comes back into session, when the House Republicans return, to place Trump's image in Mount Rushmore. You have the two-sided 250th anniversary commemorative coin that will, of course, depict our president Trump at, on the dollar coin or whatever it's going to be. I mean, there's so much that's going on. The renaming of the Kennedy Performing Arts Center to the Trump Performing Arts Center. I mean, this is not in advancement of branding America. This is in the business of branding Trump and rewriting history.
Michael, you know Donald Trump better than probably anybody else on the planet. Look, again, to me, the important point of this White House thing is you want to mess around with the interior design of a White House. Any president can do that. To make any structural changes on that property, there's a rigorous process presidents have to go through. Vetting, approval, permits, all of it. Trump did none of that. So none of it. The committees, the historical commissions, all of them just blew off and ignored. That's wrong. But, Michael, I blame Trump, but Trump is who he is. He's a horrible human being. I blame his enablers. Man, and you know what, Michael? I almost can't blame Trump. Trump now, after 10 years of Republicans training him that he can do whatever the fuck he wants. He'll never pay a price, never accountability. I don't blame Trump for thinking I can just fucking tear down the White House. His enablers taught him he could do that. He tried to overthrow an election. Nothing happened. Now he's demanding $230 million from the Justice Department. Don't you worry. We're going
to get into that.
I'm glad. But Michael, I don't blame Trump for doing shit like this.
By the way, I don't either. His
enablers have trained him to do this. Blame the enablers.
Joe, I have said the same thing forever and ever on our Substack together on Walsh Wednesday. We've talked about this all along. Yes, you could blame Trump because he's ultimately the chief executive. And as they always say in the business world, shit rolls down, it flows downhill, that he's the one that would be, of course, accountable. But no, it's these folks around him that say, you know what? Fuck the process. Forget about the historical aspect of this. Just tear this shit down and we'll deal with it later. Because right now, the East Wing is no longer functionable, right? Not that Melania was there anyway, but it's no longer functionable, right? And if you wanted to restore it, I'm not even sure that you possibly can. I'm not sure that you can get anybody for any amount of money to go ahead. But it brings me to the second point here. You got all these big corporations and individuals writing checks for this private donor billionaire's ballroom, all while federal workers are now furloughed. I mean, you cannot script hypocrisy like that. How does this play with working class voters who bought into the drain the swamp lie? How do you reckon something like this?
Weirdly, Michael, Republicans and Trump are getting blamed, but it's not overwhelming. Democrats are getting blamed big time too. And so again, this is something you and I talk a lot about. My new political party, your longtime political party's got fucking issues. Because Republicans control the entire fucking federal government. The federal government is shut down. Like, that should be really easy for every American to understand. But somehow Democrats have botched that. But it is this hypocrisy. Everything Trump's doing, right? You know the number. He's increased him and his family, their net worth by whatever since he's been in office.
More than $10 billion since becoming president-elect.
The plane from Qatar, which a lot of people, Michael, still don't know, that's his. And when he leaves, he takes it with him. And he takes it to whatever library he's going to build. But he gets to fly it for the rest of his life. So he is grabbing all of this stuff, right, enriching himself, while the average guy takes it on the chin right now. That should hurt Republicans politically. I think Democrats still, though, are doing a pretty poor-ass job of messaging.
Poor-ass job. There was a poll that I just read about this morning. I couldn't believe it. The question that was asked Who do you blame more for the government shutdown? 53% said Republicans, but 47%
That's too close.
said Democrats.
That's
You're
too
talking
close.
about a 6-point differential where the margin of error is plus or minus 5. So you're talking about technically a -1. And I'm saying to myself, how stupid can somebody be? The White House, Republican. The Senate, Republican. The House of Representatives, Republican. How can you possibly say that this is a Democratic shutdown? Why? Because MAGA Mike Johnson says it, because John Thune says it, because Scott Bessent says it, because Smiling Bob says it. I mean, because Machine Gun Lips Levitt turns around and says it, or Christine Ohm, and everybody's out there parroting the same thing. If I parroted that I'm the center for the New York Knicks, and you repeated it, then I got the Mycelis brothers to repeat it, and I got all of our Substack subscribers and all of my Mea Culpa subscribers and fans repeating it. Does that mean I'm the center for the New York Knicks? Now you're going to show up to watch me play, and I'm lucky if I'm sitting in the fucking nosebleeds.
But, Michael, my former party under Trump is a cult, and they all do sing the same song, and they all do follow his lead and lie, which is why 80% of Republicans still believe he won in 2020. They're very effective at that. Democrats have not figured out how to go at that. This is their problem with everything. Trump's numbers overall are in the toilet. Democrats' numbers are worse. So by all indication, Democrats should win. Republicans should get their lunch handed to them next year. But that may not happen because Democrats still don't have like strong voices and like a unifying voice yet. And Michael, maybe they won't till they have a nominee in 28, but it's going to be too late by then. It's going to be way too late.
That'll be way too late. Yeah, and Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer are definitively not the right people to bring about this message. And
no, it's meeting the moment. Michael, that's what it is. It's meeting the moment. Now, you and I are not in office right now. Tell you what, Michael Cohen fucking knows how to meet this moment. I do. You and I know a lot of people who know how to speak to what we're going through right now. It's a shame that those voices don't carry the day.
Well, we know how to speak to the silent majority.
Regular people. When
you listen to both Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries, I'm not there to be lectured to. I understand. Doesn't make a difference, educated, uneducated, law degree, or just a high school diploma. It doesn't make a difference. You know what's hurting you. You know that when you go to the store, we'll call it the grocery store, a term that Donald Trump coined. When you go to that grocery store, you know you're walking out with less goods for more money. Plain and simple. You know that you can't afford the groceries that you were paying for before and your medication. And now all of a sudden you got health coverage. But before we start jumping into all of that stuff, and you're right, we could message the shit out of this if somebody like a Ken Martin would ever turn around and, and acknowledge that the old playbook of the Democratic Party needs to be thrown into the shredder and never, ever, ever touched again. Needs to be destroyed. So look, when we're talking about the White House and because like you, I'm really upset about the whole thing. All of a sudden now, the White House is saying that they will submit construction plans. There's no construction plans on what they're doing. Trump just turns around and says, bring in the bulldozer, right? Knock down fucking Melania's area. It doesn't matter. She's not here anyway. Right. And even if she was, we'll knock it down anyway with her in it and everybody else. I don't care. Right. So now they're turning around and saying that they're going to submit these construction plans after the demolitions already started. I mean, that's like asking for forgiveness after you rob the bank. Right. Yeah. And on top of that, after you rob the bank and you ask for forgiveness, I'm not returning the money either. Should Congress be stepping in here? Or are they just too scared?
I love you, Michael Cohen, like a man can love another man. I can't believe you fucking asked me that question. Should. Well, actually, technically, in your defense, you said should. You didn't say
Should.
will they. So
should Congress?
Yeah, but they won't. Again, Michael, to me, that's the biggest story of these first 10 months. This is what America looks like without a legislative branch. End of story. We do not have a Congress. We do not have a Congress. We have not had a Congress since early January. They all swore to defend Trump, not the Constitution. This is a real problem. So there's no oversight. There's no investigations. Congress doesn't do anything. Mike Johnson works for Trump. House Republicans work for the executive. So no, they won't lift a finger on this White House issue, just like they won't lift a finger on the $230 million Justice Department payment issue, and on and on and on. This is what America looks like without a Congress, period.
Okay, so you like that $230 million issue. So you know what? We're going to jump right into that. All right. And let's get to the insane part about this whole thing, right? Trump is suing these aren't my words, by the way. These are his words. That it's sort of odd because he is suing his own Justice Department for almost $250 million. And what's the basis? Investigating him.
Yeah.
Anything like this ever happened in American history?
No, and by the way, Michael, correct me if I'm wrong, the two investigations that he's claiming he's owed damages for were the original Russia investigation and then Jack Smith's prosecution of him. Now, those are the two investigations he's referring to. Excuse me, Trump tried to overthrow an American election. I'm damn glad he was investigated and indicted. So think about it like that, Michael. Trump does bad things. Trump commits a crime. He gets pissed off. He gets reelected. Then they drop the investigation. Then he hires cronies to go after the people who investigated him when he committed a crime. And now he wants his cronies to pay him the money.
So, I was on CNN the other night. I was talking to Laura Coates because I have a little bit of a different opinion than most people on this. Yeah. So as I said to her, there's really two aspects here that need to be considered. First is legally, does Trump have a claim here against the Justice Department? Is it or is it not without merit? And the answer is it is with merit. Why? Well, simply because he filed these notices of claims when he was a private citizen. That's how you do it. He's 4 notices of claims went in seeking damages for the federal agencies that he alleges acted improperly or caused him measurable harm. That all falls under the Federal Tort Claims Act. Something
when he wasn't
I know
president.
About
when he
was not
yeah.
president.
Yeah.
And I know a lot about this simply because I too filed an FTCA claim. My case went all the way to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court refused to hear it. The difference, though, is that I'm not the one who said that my constitutional rights were violated.
Yeah.
That was said by a federal court judge, Alvin K. Hellerstein. In this case, Trump, of course, is saying it, and that's something that he and his lawyers would have to prove. But again, the second part that needs to be considered is what makes this moment extraordinary. And this is what I ask you, that Trump now leads the very department that's reviewing his case. This is to be looked at by one of 2 people that he actually put into office, Todd Blanche, and then the other guy who I always forget his name. But I posted something that I think is going to shock you a little bit on my social media platforms. And I wrote, and you can see it on my X, on my Twitter, on my Substack, and all that crap. I can't believe I'm saying this, but Trump's notice of claim over the so-called Russia hoax, because there's 2 parts to his notice of claim. One, the Russia hoax. The second is the Mar-a-Lago raid. I don't think the Mar-a-Lago raid has any leg to stand on, but the Russia hoax, I do. So I said again, I'm going to start again. I can't believe I'm saying this, but Trump's notice of claim over the so-called Russia hoax has at least one leg to stand on. The leaks, the planted stories, the whisper campaigns, they were all designed to wound him. I Michael Cohen, was hit with 11 separate false allegations myself. Each one of them funneled through the same hands, Comey, Brennan, and the crew of self-anointed patriots who thought that they could outmaneuver democracy by weaponizing intelligence. Now, I want to be clear about something to all of my Mea Culpa supporters, to all my supporters on X and Threads and Substack and whatever. I don't want them to get me wrong. I disagree with much of what he's doing. All right, I completely disagree with it. But that first chapter, the Russia narrative that consumed this country, every day for months upon months upon months, my life turned upside down. So were his. And it wasn't all smoke. Some of it was engineered fire. And I too became collateral damage. So believe me or don't believe me, but I lived it. And I'm telling you, he actually has a legitimate claim. Now, I don't want to start getting into $230 million, the amount. Where he came up with that number, I happen to know. I read the full 15-page notice of claim. The claim is that $130 million were legal fees expended as a result of the Steele dossier, that bullshit document, etc. The other 100 is punitive damages. I don't think you see anything close to $230 million. But here's the question for you. Even if this matter goes away for $1, it rewrites a massive narrative that this country has become accustomed to.
Which narrative, Michael?
The narrative that Trump colluded with Russia, it vindicates and it actually strengthens his case both against Comey and one that may ultimately come out against John Brennan.
Well, you and I disagree on this. I don't believe there was a Russian hoax. I think the whole thing was real.
There was no Russia hoax.
Well, here's what I believe. Russia fucked with the 2016 election to help get Trump elected. That's obvious.
Maybe yes, maybe no. Sure.
Our government investigated that. Makes sense, right? A foreign country's fucking with our election to help one of our presidents.
Big problem.
So, boom, we investigate it. We should have investigated it. Did our FBI and Justice Department make mistakes during that investigation? I'm certain they did. Did our FBI and Justice Department, some of them, not want Trump to win? Sure, they did. But this thing's been looked at upside and down by Republican and Democratic sources, and the basic facts are clear. Russia did fuck with the election. I think the Mueller report, Michael, made clear. Mueller said there was collusion. He couldn't prove, he didn't have enough time, he said, to prove that it rose to the level of a conspiracy. But regardless, I think there's merit. And Trump tried to stop the investigation. End of story.
You know that feeling when you throw on a t-shirt that actually fits right? Not too tight, not too baggy, just clean, easy, confident. That's what I got the first time I put on a True Classic tee. The guys at True Classic started with one simple idea: make premium, comfortable clothes that actually work for real people. And clearly, they nailed it. With over 25 million shirts sold to 5 million customers. And I'm one of them. And more than 200,000 five-star reviews. People don't fake numbers like that. You see, for me, True Classic, it's not about fashion. It's about function. The shirts fit where they should. They move with you and they hold through real life, like flights, studio days, even those nights when you fall asleep reading the news. The fabric's soft, really soft. It keeps its shape and it doesn't scream, try hard. It just looks good. And that's the thing. You don't have to choose between comfort and confidence. With True Classic, you get both. And you can find them at Amazon, at Target, Costco, or Sam's Club. Or just head to trueclassic.com/Cohen to try them out yourself. That's True Classic, trueclassic.com/Cohen. Look sharp, feel better. And finally, wear something that gets it right.
But the 230 million, Michael, I think also involves he's pissed off about what Jack Smith did. right? When the Jack Smith investigation
We're talking about
began.
Mar-a-Lago and so on. Yeah. But
well, Mar-a-Lago, but also the election interference in 20,
yes,
I believe.
Sure.
Well,
but
come on.
It deals with several. But going just back for a second, I won't disagree with you that Russia did things to interfere in the election. They clearly didn't want Hillary Clinton. The only other person there was Donald Trump. But that's not the legal question. The question that should have been put forth is whether or not Trump was involved in it. You know, if I do something that benefits you and you have no knowledge, you're not a co-conspirator.
Or
And
the
that's
Trump
the
campaign.
point.
Not the Trump campaign. Were they involved? That's what was investigated.
Sure. And it was demonstrated that there was some weird shit. Well, not Junior. It was with
Junior wanted
Paul
that
Manafort.
meeting, right?
Right. But with Paul Manafort than anything. But here's the thing. Manafort was there at the campaign for about 38 days in total. All right.
Caused a lot of trouble.
He sure did. But again, if that's done outside of Trump's knowledge, he cannot be, there's no mens rea. He's not a co-conspirator.
Right, but Michael, what's he complaining about? I mean, it's like, didn't Donald Trump think that all of this shit should have been investigated?
You know what? That's a great question. That's a great question.
You're the lawyer. Like, does he believe like the investigation itself did him great harm?
No, it's the attacks upon him. And at least you were fair enough to acknowledge that the FBI, the CIA, intelligence, DOJ at the time, they acted in ways that were harmful to Trump because they didn't want him. They didn't like him.
But do you think, Michael, do you think mostly with intent? I think mistakes were made.
No, I think it was intentional. I think Comey and Brennan and guys like Andrew Weissman and so on, it was all intentional. When they knew, for example, and I can only speak for myself, it was proven, proven, 11 allegations raised against me, and this is important, 11 allegations raised against me, not one of them had any merit to it. I've never been to Prague. I never had 10 million in cash. I never dealt with a compromat. I never went to Prague to pay 10 million for Paul Manafort. Dude, I wouldn't pay 3 cents for Paul Manafort. I didn't like him. I don't like him today, and I didn't like him back then. I'm not going anywhere, with 10 million in cash. How the fuck did I get there? By rowboat? I was at USC with my son who had a baseball tryout, and the FBI went to the baseball coach, and they said to the whole staff, "Did you see this guy? Yeah, he was here." What? How do you know? Because his son was doing a tryout. The whole thing. That's the point that Trump is jumping on. And you know what? That's the point that I can see. He believes that was the impetus for everything else negative.
Okay, stop. I'm glad you said what you said because you've helped me understand. I completely disagree with his claim, but he's got a right to make that claim. But the bigger issue, as you said a few minutes ago, he's fucking president now. So he can't. He's got to wait, right? If he wants to do this until he's no longer in office.
Well, that's what several people had said on television the other day and have written about, that the right thing for him to do would be to table this, put this to the side until he's out, because obviously, no matter what happens, they're going to make the claim that he used undue influence, or just his being president and these folks been his former defense
his cronies.
Attorneys.
They are his cronies in charge.
Yes. Yeah, that he has. So, the funny thing too is I think he knows that these cronies are going to settle this case with him. They're never going to let it go to trial. They're never going to probably even allow this case to be filed. They will work something out to pay him, which is so wrong. And he knows while he's president. All right. And that's why I believe, knowing him as I do, in order to deflect, because I've written about this in my Substacks many times, that he's like a great illusionist. He's a great magician, right? He claims he's going to give the money to charity, or he'll use it to pay for the ballroom. or something like that. All right.
Yeah, Michael,
Like that's supposed to make this whole thing better. So Joe, look, you and I, right? We both know that charity promise is worth less than monopoly money.
He doesn't have a good track record there, Michael.
Right. I mean, let's be real about it. When he says the charity, sure. He turned around and he said that it's not this ballroom, this $250 million ballroom is, not going to cost the American people money. It's going to be a great benefit, yada, yada, yada. Okay, fantastic. Taking the money from the taxpayer through this type of a claim, what legitimate or not. And I think the second part, the first part has legs. The second part, I don't think. Do I think it's worth $230 million? No, but whatever the amount is, he'll put it towards that, right? I mean, that's just what I believe that.
And you do believe, Michael Cohen, that as the sitting president, it's wrong for him to do this now and benefit
I think it's
now.
ill-advised. Yeah, Joe, I think it's completely ill-advised. Hey, let me then move and ask you this.
Yeah.
If the DOJ even entertains this, doesn't that send the message that the president can literally turn justice into a personal piggy bank? And again, I'm not talking about the merits. I'm talking about the fact that it is even happening. Doesn't it basically turn justice into a piggy bank?
Yeah, but Michael, that day's already long gone. We've already busted through that window where the president and the attorney general, where justice should be blind and independent, and the president can't tell the attorney general, the nation's top law enforcement officer, who to go after and who not. Trump just fucking blew through that window. Pam Bondi works for him. His cronies are the top people at the Justice Department. This Justice Department is his personal law firm, period. You and I are old enough to remember that when Bill Clinton, after he was president, met with Loretta Lynch on a tarmac. Yeah. That was a huge fucking scandal. After he was president, you just don't do that. But like Trump's just blown down every norm that we've ever known. I don't know how we get that back at all.
Well, with a change of administration, you get it back. You get.
But can I ask you a question, Michael?
If I became president, let's say I became president.
Yeah. Democratic president.
All right. I became a Democratic president. There's so much that I would reverse. All right. I would reverse his entire rulings on ICE. Some people saying we should tear down this building and then remake the White House the way it used to be. That would be stupid. My point is, I would find an attorney general who is not my personal attorney, who is not going to do my bidding, because if I don't like Joe Walsh. Hey, you know what? John Doe, Attorney General, go after Joe. No. And if you stop doing that, literally, there's not going to be another Donald Trump, at least not on the Democratic side.
So Michael, that's an interesting point, because this is what the Democratic Party is wrestling with. Trump now has broken every rule and law. And so now Democrats got to fight fire with fire. So when a Democrat becomes president, Democrats can do the same thing Trump did. Pick your attorney general. That attorney general works for you. Use that attorney general to go after them because they went after you. You understand, Michael, that
you're talking about like the Hatfields and the McCoy ideology. But here's the thing. No, I don't know if I agree with it. First of all, every president.
I don't know if I agree with that.
Right.
I'm just saying
every president picks the attorney general, his attorney general. And that's a function of the president, as every president picks his cabinet and pick the ambassadors and so on. That's the right. That doesn't mean like what Joe Biden did by picking that feckless fucknut, what do you call it?
Merrick Garland.
Merrick Garland. I mean, a guy who couldn't get out of his own way if there was a bus coming at him. Never saw anything like it. Never saw anything slower. You need somebody in between a Pam Bondi and a Merrick Garland. Somebody that will take a direction, but they'll do it based upon law and based upon truth.
It's Michael, it's a fascinating issue. So you've got this competition going on, and Trump comes in and he lies, cheats, steals, breaks the law, completely changes everything. Then a Democrat comes in and you're asking a Democrat just to play by the rules? Look what they did for 4 years or 8 years. It's a really interesting question. Yeah. I'll tell you that I think your instinct is right. The next Democratic president's got to be like an Abraham Lincoln. Got to defeat this fascist shit, but then got to heal and bring the country together.
Does that mean I have to grow a long beard?
Have you ever had facial hair? I mean,
I have. I will show you a photo.
I'll bet it doesn't come in. Have you ever had just a mustache?
You got not just a mustache. Brow. I've had a goatee. When I came out of Otisville, I had a goatee. But I have had, I wouldn't say a beard like Abraham Lincoln. I've never grown it that long. No, my wife hates the facial hair. So just as soon as it gets like a little bit too long, she starts.
But Michael, I will say this: if Democrats assume power again, they have to hold some of these people accountable for what they do.
Sure. I agree, because the optics are gross. They really are. They're gross. You got a president who's suing for $250 million, who's building a $250 million ballroom, who's shutting down government, and all of this happening at once. So the question I really want to ask you, Joe, as a former Republican and now a kind of diehard, even more so Democrat than I, how do you even begin to justify that to voters who thought that they were electing a populist?
That's a really good question, Michael, because he's a fake populist. But most of his supporters still believe it. Now, what will change that? I've talked about this. You've talked about this. For a lot of these voters, just pure pain, economic pain is the only thing that's going to get them off of him. I mean, these fucking tariffs, the deportations, everything, the losing your job, the price of shit. Sadly, because it is sadly, unbelievably acute economic pain is the only thing that will pry some of his voters off of him.
That and the loss, of course, of health care. While we're sitting there and we're talking about this, talk about grotesque. You had this kid, Paul Ingrassia. And that was Trump's pick to run, I think, the Office of Special Counsel, who literally had to bail. Walked away, had no choice, after Senate Majority Leader John Thune came out and said, and listen, I don't have a lot to agree with John Thune, but on this, I guess, Nazi shit was just a step too far. He basically came out and he said, and these are his words, no chance in hell. You think that that's the beginning of a crack in Trump's armor, or do you think that's just a PR cleanup job by the Senate?
No, that's just pure reality. This guy didn't have close to the number of votes, because Michael, even before all this racist Nazi stuff that came out about him, I mean, in the spring, he was saying publicly, in essence, that Trump had absolute power. He could do whatever he wants. The president could. I mean, this Ingrassia guy was saying shit like that. And he'd have been headed up the Office of Special Counsel. So even before the ugly Nazi stuff, this guy was clearly unqualified and out there. This is like Matt Gaetz. I mean, this is a real one-off. This guy's really bad.
Okay, so he's not qualified. Let's table that.
The right word.
Right. Maybe let's just table that for a second. There is, without doubt, that his private messages were completely fucking unhinged and off the rails. Racist, conspiratorial, completely unhinged rants.
Michael, he was on a podcast a few months ago. He said Barack Obama's a transgender. Exactly. I mean, unhinged.
So my question to you is this, and it's something that I wish that all of my Mea Culpa subscribers and those who are listening take to heart. The question we really have to be asking ourselves, and I'm going to throw it to you, Joe, how does a guy like this even get nominated unless the system itself is fucking broken?
Well, the people around Trump, not Trump. Trump's a vessel. Trump's a vehicle for a lot of this white Christian nationalist stuff. What's his name? God, I'm forgetting names. Russ Vought and Stephen Miller. And a lot of these Project 2025 people, Michael, they are Christian nationalists. Charlie Kirk was a Christian nationalist. And many of them are white Christian nationalists. So it's not surprising if these are the most powerful people now in Trump's administration. It's not what Trump is. He's just a vessel. It's not surprising that other people now feel emboldened to throw their Nazi and racist bullshit out there as well.
Yeah.
This is, by the way, Michael Cohen, this is really scary, and all of your listeners need to understand this. I say this as somebody who comes from the right. I say this as a proud Catholic boy. Christian nationalism, the rise of it, it is the most powerful animating force in my former political party. This is really scary shit. It's the thing that says America should formally be a Christian nation. And they now, Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, has publicly said that. J.D. Vance has said that. This is really scary, un-American shit that America needs to pay attention to.
Well, that's the truth. And now on top of all this, there's a move within which to have John Brennan prosecuted, former head of the CIA. Same guy, of course, that Trump has expressed total disdain for years. By the way, I'm in total agreement with Trump on this part. I think they all played a dirty hand in the Russia hoax matter, but we talked about that already. But I would like to ask you, Joe, problem that I do have is it justice that they're going for, or is it political score settling? That's the part that I'm most concerned about.
So, Michael, it's the latter. You could defend it if you're one of Trump's people by saying they did it to us. Now we're getting back at them. I don't agree with that. Maybe there's a part of you that feels that, but I know you still don't believe in retribution. But it's just this is literally the politicization of justice, the weaponization of justice on steroids. It's kind of like, Michael, this is Trump, like all politicians lie, all politicians to a degree make corrupt deals, and they do it all behind closed doors. They enrich themselves. And Trump just fucking does everything out in the open, and he yells about it, and he thinks it's not corrupt if it's out in the open. This is weaponization of justice. Trump is doing it out in the open. He's not doing it behind some closed door, but it's still really, really bad.
Yeah, because the line between justice and political score settling is like wafer thin. People say, how is that possible, Michael? Right? They should be diametrically opposed to one another, like magnets, positive and negative. No. So what they'll turn around and tell you is you could see it as score settling. We're telling you that these folks did stuff that they should not have done. And yeah, they caused Trump and others, myself included, harm, real serious harm. Dude, I went to fucking prison. I got a 6-year sentence, 3 years in, 3 years out. I did 13 months, 51 days solitary confinement. I did real time here. So yeah, it may look like political score settling, but these folks broke the law, and it's incumbent upon us, because that's how they take the high road. It's incumbent upon us to ensure that justice and accountability is had. Otherwise, we're really nothing more than a banana republic.
Well, but Michael, Trump's incapable of doing anything you just said there, because Trump publicly tells Pam Bondi, go after this person next. What was it, like a month ago with whoever? Trump meant to send Pam Bondi a private DM, but it was a public post on Truth Social saying, go after, who was the
John Bolton.
John Bolton, whatever. Yeah. So Trump is the president of the United States, is publicly telling the attorney general who to prosecute. I don't care if there's any payback for that. Oh my God, that is Banana Republic stuff. We can't have that.
No, it is really dangerous because there's people who are going to get caught up in this. That, look, here's what Trump knows. He knows that every single human being, alive or dead, have done something that Uncle Sam, that the DOJ, if they turn around and they found that, can turn around and prosecute you and absolutely turn your life upside fucking down. He knows that because he understands human nature. Now, most people will turn and say, oh, not me, not me. Fuck you. Then you're lying. Everybody has done something. In fact, there's a book out there. I read it when I was in Otisville called 5 Felonies a Day by Harvey Westglade. Every person commits a felony, 5 felonies every single day.
A lot of truth in that. A lot of truth.
And if you read the book, you'll listen, oh my God, well, that's a felony? Yeah, it is. All right. And so if Uncle Sam gets their hands on you with their unlimited resources, with the fact they control the game, that you're the one that's under pressure while they're laughing and drinking about it, yeah, trust me. All right. You will know what I know and what I have yelled from the rooftops for the past 8+ years. What they did to me, I never want to see happen to another American again. But slowly and surely, they're doing it to more and more people. And what we're finding is many of the people, like a James Comey or Brennan and others, these are the same people that ended up thinking it was okay to do it against me because they saw themselves as saviors of democracy to keep Donald Trump out of office. That's what my research for my book Revenge ultimately determined.
And I lovingly and respectfully disagree with a lot of that. I respect it though, Michael. You and I have a dinner bet though. Like Comey filed a couple days ago to get that case dismissed. I still think it might get dismissed. You don't.
Yeah, we'll still have that dinner. Right. So let me then move on to this because Trump doesn't just control the executive branch completely from soup to nuts. In fact, what we're learning is that he's also in full control over the legislative branch. Something that scared the shit out of our founding fathers. But wait, there's more. I feel like the fucking Ginsu commercial, right? One of those ads on TV. He's also controlling much of the judiciary. Federal judge just ruled that Trump can deploy the military domestically. They gave him a carte blanche to deploy the military statewide. That's not a small thing. That's crossing a line that was never meant to be crossed. How dangerous is it really?
So I could be wrong, Michael. You're talking about the Portland ruling, the Oregon ruling. I think that appeals court said that Trump could send the National Guard in, could order the National Guard in to defend a federal facility, i.e. the ICE facility in Portland. You're
not wrong. Keep going.
I have huge problems with that. Even that I don't think is constitutional, and other courts have differed with this ruling. But again, before everybody gets bent out of shape, the judge didn't say Trump can call the military and everybody in anywhere in Oregon and do anything. It was only to defend. He had the authority to defend this one federal facility.
No, I think it's all federal. I think it's all federal buildings.
Yeah. That will be appealed, though. And
sure.
The Supreme Court's going to rule on this.
You know, losing someone close really makes you think about the future. I've seen friends and family struggle with the unexpected hits, and the last thing you want is for your loved ones to worry about bills, the mortgage, or tuition on top of their grief. That's why I looked into life insurance and why I went through Ethos. Getting coverage through Ethos was shockingly easy. It's 100% online, no medical exam required. You just answer a few health questions. And in fact, I got an instant rate in as little as 10 minutes and same-day coverage without ever leaving my house. I mean, that's faster than waiting for a politician to get anything done. Life insurance isn't just about death. It's about making sure your family can keep their home, send the kids to college, and maintain their lifestyle if something, God forbid, happens to you. And with Ethos, it's actually affordable. Some policies, they're as low as $2 a day, billed monthly with up to $3 million in coverage. They're disrupting the old, confusing way of doing life insurance. And you know what? It shows. It shows with over 3 million families having trusted Ethos. And they're rated, by the way, 4.8 out of 5 stars on Trustpilot. So protect your family with life insurance from Ethos. Get your free quote at ethos.com/Cohen. That's ethos.com/Cohen. Fast, simple, reliable, and honestly, a little peace of mind goes a long way, even in my world. You ever open your phone, read the headlines, and, well, feel that your blood pressure spiked before the coffee even hits the cup? Yeah, well, welcome to my mornings. And that's where IndaCloud comes in. No, I don't say this lightly, because if you've listened to me long enough, you know that I don't endorse garbage. But IndaCloud, these guys are the real deal. A fully legal online dispensary. No sketchy dispensary trips, no mystery gummies, no doctor's notes, just top shelf, lab tested, THC shipped straight to your door. And it's done discreetly. See, the first time I tried IndaCloud, I wasn't chasing a buzz. I just wanted to stop replaying the same headlines in my head. And one gummy later, I felt something I hadn't in a long time. Space. Breathing room. Like my brain finally took its hands off the wheel. So whether you need better sleep, you want to take the edge off without the hangover, or you're just ready for the beast mode collection, IndaCloud's got you covered. Over 50,000 people already trust them to take the stress out of the news cycle. And you know what? I can see why. So if you're 21 or older, head right now to indacloud.co. Use code Cohen for 30% off your first order plus free shipping. That's indacloud.co. INDACLOUD.co and use code Cohen, that's COHEN, for 30% off, free shipping, and a little peace of mind delivered right to your door. And support the show, support your sanity, and please, most importantly, enjoy responsibly. Okay, so one judge, who is the dissenting of the three, called it an erosion of constitutional principles. That's where you stand on it, right?
Yeah.
You think he's right. You give this man an inch of unchecked power, and understand his nature never deals in inches. In fact, it deals in mega miles, not even 1 mile, right? You know, people talking about, oh, it's okay, just take 1 inch, take one step forward. He doesn't believe in steps. He believes in miles. He'd take the whole damn Constitution with him if he could.
Mm-hmm.
You think I'm wrong?
No, not at all. Michael, look, when I stop fighting and I just want to retire the rest of my life, I'm going to reread so much about our founding. I loved our founding fathers. They were brilliant men. They developed this unbelievably unique thing. Our Constitution is brilliant, but there's a fatal flaw in our Constitution. Our founders admitted that they did not factor for bad, evil men of low, horrible character. And look at what Trump's been able to do in this very complicated constitutional system, because he's a very, very bad man. So it begs the question, do we, Michael, moving forward, need further protections in our Constitution to protect against a future Trump? I don't know.
Well, here's the thing. So, okay, without getting into character assassinations, right? The founding fathers actually acknowledged that there could come a time in America's history, America's future, that an individual would want to become more than president, would want to become a king.
Yeah.
Hence why they created the concept, or I should say they took the concept of the tripartite system of government, never believing that if you have 200 senators, if you have 400 and something, members of the House, right, that you would be able to get an elected official who's there representing their district or their state to basically say, yeah, fuck it. You know what? Whatever you want to do, boss, right? I'm in. They never thought that if you had one man who was of weak character, that you could find 400 weak men of character. And by the way, when I say men, I mean men and women, right? 400 people of weak character. Because that's what we see when you have people who are members of Congress coming out there for their 5 minutes of airtime so that they could raise more money for their coffers, turning around and making allegations or just spewing these talking points that are completely absurd, ridiculous, and un-American and unconstitutional.
It's great stuff, Michael. Our founders did not envision, because they made Congress the most powerful branch.
Yeah.
I've said it before, there were plenty of our founders that did not even want the office of the presidency. Congress was everything. Our founders didn't sufficiently envision that Congress would purposely cede their authority to an executive.
Yeah.
And that's
nobody would ever. Why would anybody? It'd be like a teacher ceding their power to a student. I don't care if he's the smartest or the dumbest in the class. So, on that notion of the decision, I want you to picture this: National Guard troops rolling into some pick and choose the American city. To my Mea Culpa listeners, your city, under the presidential authority, going after protesters, journalists, anyone that they deem to be a threat. We've seen it. They shot a fucking priest in the top of his head with a rubber bullet that really hurt him. And what was he doing? He was standing there and praying that God should give them wisdom. And for that, that was a threat enough that that piece of shit decided he was going to use that priest as target practice. Imagine that. Are we ready for that here in America? Because it sure feels like that we're already there.
So, Michael, I think the scary thing is I think Donald Trump's going to do everything he can to fuck with the 2026 elections or put the 2026 elections off. A big part of his strategy is using the military, putting the military on our streets everywhere to create violence and chaos. Trump wants violence. And so his military will be the ones that incite, ICE will be the ones that incite the violence, because he wants to put off the elections if things don't look good next year. This is my ultimate fear.
Yeah. So like I said, Joe, the hour goes by, unfortunately, way too quickly. But I do want to ask you a personal question here, because you, my friend, you walked away from the GOP because you saw what was coming. You saw it. You saw it a long time ago. Tell my listeners, honestly, do any of the Republicans still have the spine to stand up, or is it too far gone at this point?
Oh, I think, Michael, there's always one or two or three or four of them who could stand up and publicly come out against him and then publicly take a blowtorch to their career. There are maybe three or four that I think of who could do that, but never more than that. And that's what's so sad, because all of my former colleagues have looked at what happened to me or Kinzinger or Cheney, and we basically fucked ourselves. And that's what happens. And most politicians don't want to fuck themselves. They want to stay in the game and get reelected and be powerful. But there are a couple that might.
I mean, because we're seeing now Marjorie Taylor Greene. I hate to say this, right? Because I've been so critical. I've been actually beyond rude to her here on Mea Culpa and on my other social media platforms. She's actually acting like the North Star of the Republican Party. She turned around and saying, bullshit. All right. We want the Epstein files were released. We want Adelita Grijalvo to be sworn in. She won her election. It's already been verified and validated. All Mike Johnson has to do is this ministerial move and swear her in. Then that 218 vote comes in. And there's several things that actually Marjorie Taylor Greene has stood up for that you and I, decent people, humans, most people in this country stand up for.
She's untouchable.
You think she's untouchable?
Yeah, and I don't know of anyone else who's an untouchable like her. She's her own brand. She's a brand that rivals Trump's. She's untouchable, so she can do this. But Michael, she's still predominantly MAGA. The other thing about Marjorie is Marjorie wants out of the House. She'd love to run statewide. Part of this is political too. Good for her. Mm-hmm. Thomas Massie, who Trump's going after again, and you and I have issues with Massie on plenty of things, but Massie's been his own guy, his own voice for years, and Trump doesn't like that.
Yeah. Well, look, Joe, thank you as always for joining.
You're the best,
for helping
Michael,
to make us smarter. Please, to all of you listening, please join Substack. Check out my Walsh Wednesdays. We do it every single Wednesday at 4:00 p.m. It's a great show. We have a great time. Try to find us there. Other than that, Joe, stay strong, brother. There's so much going on. There's so much for us to contend with. We got a lot of work to do, brother.
Right back at you. Get your rest, Michael. Keep going. Thank you, brother.
Thank you, pal.